Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Marriage Conversation with your sister, Naima B. Robert. I literally cannot wait to dive into today's interview because I have really, what can we say? A family favorite here, mashallah, Baba Ali, of so much fame, so many different avenues that we know of him, mashallah. But even though he was extremely popular as a YouTuber, as a creator of children's, comedy, comedy itself, and an actor, I think you're a producer as well, but you're here as the founder of Half Deen or Half Your Deen. You may have heard it. Baba Ali, welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, really excited to just dive into this this topic with you, mashallah. But hold on, because many people may or may not know about Half Deen or Half Your Deen. They may be half our deen, exactly. Yeah. So they may be familiar with you for lots of other reasons. So tell me, what are your credentials for being on The Marriage Conversation? Tell the people.
Excellent question. So for many people, as you just mentioned, they know me from the kids' videos, or Baba Ali for doing 15 years of stand-up comedy, or you know him from, he did the YouTube videos, right? Wait. If you actually go way back, the whole name Baba Ali came from the guy who designed board games. I sold games and they sold all around the world. And alhamdulillah, I sold out of every game that I produced, mass produced. So alhamdulillah, I was a successful board game person, successful stand-up comedian for 15 years, successful YouTube videos, first person to do video blogs on YouTube, all these different things. So all those different projects that I went through, the one that is I'm most passionate about, and you'll see me talk more about on any type of social media platform, is Half Deen, and that's helping people get married. Many, many years ago, I was that same person. Of those people who are watching right now that are single and struggling to find your half, I was that person. I have coming from a family that are not practicing any type of religion, let alone Islam. 100% secular. In fact, so secular, I used to have idols. Yes, idols around my neck. And my parents said, that's fine. You can worship whatever you want as long as you get good grades in school. That's how secular my parents were. Okay. Worship even another stone if you want. Get good grades. That's how secular. And nobody, even bad Muslims, they don't do that. Like there's a line you don't cross. Like, you want to do shirk? No problem. As long as you're a doctor, do as much as shirk that you want. So long story short, when I accepted Islam, I went through a very difficult process of trying to learn about the true Islam, no culture. At the same time, when I want to get married, I couldn't go through my parents, obviously. Couldn't go through my friends. As much as many of us love our friends, they're not the best matchmakers. Like, why would you think I'll be interested in him? And then you go through your local Muslim community, there's not much going on. So all these different things that happens, you finally find yourself into a situation where you're thinking to yourself, what else can I do? And in 2001, I did the unthinkable. I joined a website. I wasn't sure which website worked, so I joined all of them. Yes, all of them. Nice. But I was very specific of what I was looking for. Very specific, because I don't want to talk to 10 sisters. That's not an attractive idea for me. I don't talk to, especially many sisters right now, they don't want to talk to 10 brothers that they don't match with. They don't want to talk to a bunch of people they're not compatible with, waste their time. I was the same idea. I don't want to talk to 10 people. I don't want to talk to 5 people. I don't even want to talk to 2 sisters. I just want to talk to 1. Now, where am I going to find this 1 sister? Well, I don't know which website she's on, so might as well go to all of them. But be very, very, very specific on what I'm looking for. I put it in my profile and I say, okay, if 1 sister responds, that'll be a big deal because I don't think anyone's going to respond. Maybe 17 sisters responded. When 17 sisters responded, I knew something was wrong because this is not a handsome guy. I have a gap between my teeth. So I'm like, okay, there's something off here. There's no way 17 sisters falls for this guy. There's something off. I don't have a job. I have a car that my engine fell out. Yes, my engine fell out when I was driving it. So I'm like, there must be something else. They're either tell me what I want to hear, and maybe there's one of them that's telling me the truth. So I came up with my own system that I came up with that to separate those who are telling me the truth versus the ones who are telling me what I want to hear. Many sisters who are listening to this right now, many of you are wondering, how did you do that? Because I'm talking to somebody and I can't tell if they're the right person or not. So my system was to come up with questions that didn't have right or wrong answers. And then I sent it to all 17 sisters. Only one of them answered it correctly. And she happened to live in where? In London. And I live in Los Angeles. So I'm like, wait a second. She lives all the way across the world. I was expecting to live in California and that would be so much easier. And what background is she? Oh, she's born in Kenya. But you're born in Iran and that's don't really mix either. 2 different ethnicities, 2 different skin colors, 2 different backgrounds, 2 different everything. But maybe she's my other half. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he made us in pairs, doesn't mean that your pair looks exactly like you or comes from the same city or live in the same background. So I said, let me go learn more and more and more. So as I learned more about her, I said, I just need to go meet her. And I met her. And after 20 minutes of seeing her for the first time in 2001, I took out my camera. And I wasn't planning to take out my camera. I was just nervous. I didn't know what else to do. I brought a camera with me to the UK. So I said, listen, I'm going to go meet this sister that I've been talking to online. And we talked on the phone. And I'm going to finally meet her. And if things don't work out, at least I take a nice trip to the UK, show my friends what London looks like. But with my camera with me, and I'm sitting in, for those who are familiar with London, Hyde Park, she's sitting on a bench. I have nice social distancing gap way before the coronavirus even existed. And there's a huge distance between us. And what happens is I am speaking to her while she's sitting down. I am standing. It looks like awkwardness, but everyone non-Muslim in a crowded park, for those who are familiar with Hyde Park, is very, very busy. So not alone. And we're talking. And after 20 minutes, I knew she was the one. So I took out my camera and she was so nervous. She's like, what are you doing? I said, just in case this works out, one day we might have kids. And those kids are going to ask, how did you meet mama? I want to record this. From that moment, today we got married, which was 9 days later. We didn't even plan to get married. We just meant to meet each other. I recorded a documentary, a 2-hour documentary, which I gave her 5 years after marriage. And you know what my wife said when she got the documentary, which had a DVD cover, had the whole thing, everything from A to Z. It looked like a professional movie. She said, yeah, I'll watch it later. What do you want for dinner?
Oh,
that's my wife. So my wife is super down to earth. Is the hardest person in the world to impress. And that's who grounds me, alhamdulillah. All this success you see, all the stuff you just mentioned as my intro, Baba Ali this, Baba Ali. None of the Baba Ali exists without my wife.
Wow.
Every successful man has a foundation, and that foundation is his wife. Every man who grows up with a certain type of emotional intelligence is because of his good mother and his balance of mother and father. We don't have these things in our society today because we're missing those things. So what I had, alhamdulillah, people don't understand. They think, give me all the credit. No, without my wife, there's no credit. And this is why the foundation of these sisters and brothers having a good wife will build this husband stronger and stronger. And this provider, this protector will go above and beyond to make her happy. This whole idea that we're competing with each other and everyone's the same. No, we're not the same. We're different. Each one brings a different value, a different role into the marriage that together is very, very valuable. But with each trying to play the same role, it doesn't work. And this is one of the problems
for disaster. Yeah, it is. And we're definitely going to go into roles, inshallah, because it's like the hot topic.
Oh, so
nowadays.
My credentials you're asking. Okay.
But those credentials. So, okay. Yeah. Tell us the credentials. And then I need to find out what was that one testing question that everybody else answered wrong and she 19. Answered correctly. What was the question? 19.
So the question, I'll answer both those answers to you. Number one, been running a matrimonial website for 12 years. Over 2,600 people have found the other half using my project. It is not just a wishy-washy project. It actually works. So when everyone has tried all the other swiping apps and dating this and dating that, after you're done with all that nonsense and you're ready to really get married, you try Half Deen, like, oh, now I found my other half. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've been married for 20 years. My first success story is still married to today. And many of the people who have been part of the Half Deen, working for Half Deen, have been found the other half using the Half Deen process. So not only does it work, but it helps our employees do it. When does that ever happen? Right? You know, how often, what is the percentage that you get when you go to our events? Many of you have been to like these speed dating events and come back with horror stories. You know what our success rate is? My last event, which happened last Saturday, we had 21 matches. The event we did in December, which was 2 events ago, we had 61% of the attendees that found a match at the event. Wow, when was the last time you went to an event and 61% of the people found the match? This is why in our last event, 13 people flew in from 13 different states or traveled from 13 different states. For those who are in the UK, that is someone coming in from Belgium, someone coming in from Switzerland, someone coming in from Spain to London.
Mad.
It's mad. It's like, what? And does this person come from Romania? Yeah, all of these different countries. We got someone actually flying in from Morocco to come to a London event. We can't even get locals to drive. How do you get people to take flights and cross the border? Every single event that we have, people fly in or they travel, oftentimes outside the country. So I'm doing things differently. And alhamdulillah, I don't have to be Mr. Professional or whatever. All you have to do is look at the track record. See how many people are actually getting married and how it's working. For those who even is skeptical, just try and see watch visually, just see what the difference is. The difference between A and B. Anyways, back to your question. What question did I ask that my wife answered correctly, that all 16 other girls answered correctly? That was question number 19. That's one of many questions she answered correctly. This is just one of them, not just a deciding factor. But question number 19, would you rather be independent or would you rather be taken care of? My wife was the only one who chosen taken care of. And that was what
you're a traditional man.
I want to spoil my wife. I want a sister to be stressed when I come home. I rather work 2, 3, 4 jobs so she doesn't have the stress of one. I want to come home and spoil my wife and make her feel like the queen of the castle. That's because I have a very strong instinct to provide, a very strong instinct to protect, and I'm not a dictator because, every man who's telling his wife, no. I did not marry a sister and say, you need to stay home. I instead said, look, I'm looking for the sister who wants to stay home. I'm not here to change you, right? If you want to have your career and work, that is fine, but you have to tell me from upfront what you want to do. Now, my wife does her own thing. She has stuff she does from home and makes her income from home. All of that could be completely up to her. I don't ask her to give me the funds and stuff like that. Because a lot of these brothers, sisters who are totally okay with you doing your career, this is what they're doing. All right. How much do you make again? Ooh, I like that. Okay. Can you, can
you cash out that?
You're going to resent that same man who's using you. And then you feel like I'm working and working and working. And that same man, unfortunately, those modern men want you to go out there, work your career, and they expect you to be the housewife as well.
Okay, but this is I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I think that this is one of the big mashakil of our age, maybe something that we know 20 years ago. I don't think it was as much of a conversation as it is now, but this issue of sisters not wanting to be dependent on a man, either because their family encouraged them to get their own, independence, whether financially or have a career or whatever, or because of the society and because of the societal push for women to be independent and to be that strong, independent kind of, not stereotype, but that strong, independent woman, right? So there's sisters who are, I think I would hazard to say that it's majority of sisters now, certainly in the West, who have certainly something inside them that tells them it is better to be independent than to be dependent, right? Okay, it's better to have your own than to accept a man to take care of you or a man to look after you or to have to depend on a man. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so let's talk about independence, the word itself. So what the word means to a woman means different than a man. When a sister says a certain thing, it means something completely different than when the man interprets it. So women get advice from other women. Say, you have to do this, you have to do that. And just because another sister gives you advice doesn't mean that she understands how a man thinks. It's her interpretation, her view. Just similarly, there's a lot of brothers who give very bad advice to other brothers who are looking to get married. Many sisters know this. Like, I'll give you an example. Many brothers do not dress up to come to matrimonial events to meet a sister. And many sisters are confused. Why are these brothers not dressed up? Why am I dressed nicer than the person I'm speaking to? Is because men give poor advice to other men, saying that if you dress up for her, it makes you look desperate. Yet I have never met one sister, Salafi or Sufi, conservative or liberal, who's ever said that if a man dresses up very nicely to meet my parents or to meet me or to come to a matrimonial event, I consider that desperate. Wow. But men give poor advice to other men. And because this is how I would look at it, if a guy is dressed up, who cares, bro? You're not marrying a brother. We don't care what you think. Understand how females think. And sisters, let me flip the script. When I tell brothers, they're completely shocked. When you are dressed up, what they understand that as you being serious, that you're taking this seriously. Would you dress like this to go to a job interview? Would you dress like this to meet the prime minister of a country? You wouldn't. So why is it something that I feel like I'm desperate? Are you desperate? I don't need this job. Just pretend I don't need this job. Of course. That's nonsense. So this poor advice that you're getting from friends who happen to be single, by the way, why are you listening to them?
Of course.
So similarly, sisters, you're getting this advice to say, I'm strong and independent. That's fine. Your words of strong and independent, let me explain to you what the sister's perspective, what that means. Strong means I'm not a weak human being. Independent means I don't feel like I'm clinging to you. I will do my part and contribute my part. This is what men hear. You don't need me. In other words, I don't need you. When a sister says I'm independent, I don't need you. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the way, we can always use independent as much as we want. No one's independent. All human beings are dependent, some way, somewhere. The only one that is completely independent is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is independent from his creation. So if we all stop worshiping Allah tomorrow, makes zero effect on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absolutely zero effect. It only hurts us. When we leave Islam, we have not hurt Islam, we hurt ourselves, right? So with the whole idea that I don't need anybody, well, really, if you really don't need anybody, why are you trying to get married? If you're totally independent, why are you looking to get married? You don't need him. You don't need anybody. But the reality is all this stuff is nonsense. We are interdependent on each other. A man needs a woman needs a man. So I can even go as far as arguing that if there's any one that has to be more independent than the other, I would argue the men are. Because why are there so few men looking and there's such an abundance of sisters looking? They're like, I'm fine to be single. And there's
why is
urgency.
that? Why is that? What is going on? Because for sure there is a perception in the community that there is a shortage of good quality brothers, very much in air quotes, but you're saying that there is actually a difference between the numbers of men looking and the numbers of women looking. Yes, tell us more about that, inshallah. That's important.
I have been trying to mention this, and when I do, it's a backlash because sisters don't like the answer. Then I'll tell you the answer. So you may get some backlash from your audience.
Bring it.
So bring it. You can push it all on me because I'm used to being the scapegoat anyway. So I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me. Okay. I'm married, alhamdulillah. I'm not looking for a second wife. I have my Khadija, alhamdulillah. I'm good. So I don't care how many sisters dislike these answers. Here it comes. It's not Bollywood. It's none of that nonsense. They keep trying to tell you, oh, this is the reason. No, the reason why they are doing this, and this is when I get brothers by themselves, and brothers are about to do this right now. What I'm about to say, they're going to do this. There's a lack of sisters with feminine energy. So men naturally are not attracted to people who have masculine energy. Otherwise, there would be a different issue we would be having right now. So men are like, I'd rather be single than marry a sister with masculine energy. The second issue is that a lot of sisters don't understand what feminine energy is. That itself is problematic. Mm-hmm. If I have to explain to a woman how to be feminine, that is like a woman having to explain to me how to be a man. That shouldn't not be the case. I can tell you countless conversations of countless. So I wish I got £1 or $1 for each sister who's asked me, can you show me what femininity is? You're a woman. Like you should have it naturally in you. The fact that you want me to explain to each person what femininity is, that is just weird. I'm a man. Like, I don't know that it's not built into me. It's built into you. And I can give examples for those audience who are listening, because I'm sure there's people in the audience. Can you explain? I'll almost guarantee you. And once I explain, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Feminine energy is the ability, and women have this, of taking something and making it beautiful. Themselves, any type of materialistic object, anything. A man can build a house. A woman can make that house into a home. There's a big difference between a house and a home. Only a woman can make it into a home. You walk into how many times, sisters, have you walked into a place and you're like, this person's definitely married because of the small.
Oh, they're definitely single.
Yeah. Or you come walk in like, this guy is definitely single. It's like, how do you know? Yeah. Look at what he has: toilet paper sitting over there at the dining table because of using it as a tissue. Men think of logic, productivity, efficiency. Women think, okay, that's not appropriate. That's not cute. What are you doing? What were you thinking? Yeah. Men do things that, like, I have a weight set downstairs and my wife put a plant on top of my weight set.
Oh,
exactly. See, girls will take something. I said, this looks so manly with these iron things. And she put a plant on it, and actually the whole place looks cute. She knows how to beautify things. This is part of the feminine quality that we men don't have. And when women have this, by the way, it's so attractive. We have literally no answer. Those sisters who are married that use their feminine energy, you guys can get whatever you want. But the feminists don't tell you that. They teach you have masculine energy. This is how you will compete in the man world. No, sisters. This is not how you compete, because we men are used to dealing with masculine energy all day long. We compete with other men who have masculine energy. We know how to deal with that. We have absolutely no answer to feminine energy. My wife has learned this very, very well. If I argue with my wife and we have a dispute and we're not talking to each other, which happens, what happens? My wife says 3 words By saying those 3 words, argument is completely done. I'm useless. I am not useless. I'm helpless. I have no answer for her. And those words, sisters, is not I love you, because that's what you want to hear. Again, from the feminine perspective. A man wants to hear what? I need you. When a man is felt like he is needed, he will go above and beyond to make you happy. Many sisters say, oh, I know how to make my husband feel amazing. I would say, I love you. I love you does not have the same impact on him that it does with you. Let me teach you 3 words to say to you. And by the way, my daughter, wallahi, from childhood to now, says these 3 words. I don't remember, maybe once in the last 5 years or 4 years, she says the word, I love you to me. My daughter says, I appreciate you. When she says, I appreciate you, I melt, because I want to go above and beyond to do everything I can to make her happy. Same thing when my wife says it, I go above and beyond to make him happy. So whatever I'm doing, I do times 10. I love you is nice to hear, but it does not have the same impact on a man. So men need to feel appreciated. They need to feel needed. And when they do feel appreciated and needed, they will try to do everything that can be. All this nagging that you're doing to try to get your husband to do this, he's not listening. I've told him 10 times this. It doesn't work because you're wondering, that's what I would need. That pushes what I would need to get stuff done. But you're thinking from a female's perspective. I'm showing you how to do it through a male's perspective, understand how men are motivated. Because once you understand how to motivate a man, you can get whatever you want. Use your feminine energy. Fortunately, we don't have too many sisters that know how to use this skill set. Your grandmother does. If you go sit with her, she'll like, this is what you if you're smart, you get, grandma didn't have to work.
Yeah. You know what, subhanAllah, that story reminds me of an incident that happened with my late husband. And I remember we were at his mother's house, and his mother was there and his aunts were there. And I think they were making some food, and I had been helping, and then I came to sit down at the table, and I think one of them called me over to get him a plate, right? And this was a long time ago, so it was way back. But she called me to get him a plate, and then I kind of teased him, and I was like, "Oh, you can get your own plate, go on." And he didn't say anything at the time, but I remember later on it came up, and he said, you may think that those old ladies, those old women don't know anything, but they know how to make a man feel respected. I think you should pay attention. And I was like, oh, okay. You're trying to tell me something? But, I think, when you talk about, femininity and feminine energy, I think that there is definitely, it's almost like a lost art tuning into that, because I do believe that through the school system, through the society in general, we are now raised in our masculine, which is the competitive, the drive, the push, the winning, the achieving, the making, pushing. And it's very, very difficult to understand that that's not the way to win.
Yes.
In general. And then how to actually win, as a woman, and be able to because feminine energy is leaning back, is receiving, it's accepting, it's soft, it's yielding. It's not the pushing that we learn all the time, right? So, okay. So my question is, I think that's something I would go on.
You just hit a very good point. You have to know when to press that switch on. If you're a corporate, you have your CEO, you're a CEO of a company. You have 15 employees. You have to put your masculine energy, because I have to fire somebody who has kids.
Yeah.
I have to do this. I have to do these things that are not quote unquote feminine energy. You have to do, but you have to know when to turn on and turn off the switch. If you're an employee and you work for a company, you don't bring your masculine energy. I'm going to tell him what to do, my employee. No, everything your male employer is telling you to do, you listen. It doesn't matter if, this and that. It doesn't matter. If he says, I need you to be here early, you get there early. If he says, I need you to do this project, well, that's not part of my job. You end up doing it. Where's the whole masculine energy and feminine energy there? You are now receiving, and you're fully accepting. Otherwise, you can leave. Right? So we have no problem with that. If a police officer stops you and asks you for identification, are you receiving or getting? You are, you have to be acceptable. You have to be submissive or whatever. You have to be listening.
It's exactly that. It's exactly. And you said the trigger word. Alhamdulillah, I'm no longer triggered by this word, but I know for a fact that there was a time when someone, especially a brother, says the word submissive. What? It's like, how dare you? And I remember I was chairing a conversation about the fiqh of marriage, and the brother dared to say submissive. Oh my God, the chat went mad. The chat went crazy. Sisters were like, how dare this brother, come with this language, and he's this and he's that and he's that, and misogynist, and all of this stuff was being thrown at him, right? And this is a problem because, as you said, in our work environments, we understand what it means to submit to authority. Yes. When it comes to obeying rules, traffic laws, as you said, policemen, officers, whoever, we understand what it means to submit to authority. Yep. But when it comes to our husbands, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them a right over us, far more than our boss, the policeman, even the ruler of the country, right? We can't take it anymore. We're Muslim women. We cannot take this anymore. What's going on?
Well, if you listen to your boss, can you enter in any gate of Jannah? If you listen to the police officer, can you enter any gate of Jannah? Not. All of these people, by the way, sisters who are listening, these men that are in your life, these are tests by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no coincidence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala handpicked each person in your life. The father, your brother, the person you married. There's no coincidence. Allah will never test you with something you can't pass. And this person that you are being tested with, and sometimes they push you so far, could be your ticket to Jannah. And no matter how bad your situation is temporary. Now, with all that said, for the men who are listening, we were talking about feminine energy. Now let's talk about masculine energy for 1 second. Yes. When you do use your masculine energy, and by the way, sisters have no attractiveness. I don't care how many times the sisters want you to be, show your emotions and you're emotional. I don't care about all that nonsense. Women want masculine men. They want men who are strong instinct to provide, to protect, and what is masculinity? Ability to take on more stress than she can. I know sisters may be triggered with that.
No, take care of business. Take care of
business. Yes. Learn to lead. And when you lead, what does a good leader do? A good leader puts the people who are following him ahead of himself. Not a bad leader uses his power and abuses it. So when I am the leader, and I am the leader, and I have the final say in my house. Yes, sisters, you can get triggered if you like, but I have the final say in my house. With all this final say, every single woman in my house listens to me. Every single woman. My mother listens to me, and she lives 3 hours away from me. Everything I tell her, she listens. I tell my 2 daughters, they listen. I tell my wife to listen. Why? And if you ask my wife, wallahi, if you ask my wife and ask her this question, I'm saying wallahi, I have to fast for 3 days if I'm wrong here, is that if you say, has Ali ever used his power for his advantage and against your disadvantage for you? She'll say, I don't always like his decisions, but she'll say, every single time we come first. Because of this, they know, okay, this is our leader. He sometimes is going to make decisions that we don't like, but we know he has our best interest in mind. But he never uses it that advantages for him. In fact, I never come in the advantage of these situations. For that same reason, because of being a good leader, masculine energy, my daughter is like, Baba, how come when you wake up for breakfast, Mama has this plate ready for you and has fruit ready for you and juice ready for you? And she says, Ali June is Ali, my dearest. How do you get Mama to do all this stuff for you? We don't even get a plate. We're like, hey, the plates are there if you want to get something for breakfast. You're like the king of the house. And now you don't even tell Mama a word. Yeah, you don't say, go make me something. You've never have to tell Mama, make me something. I don't. So how does it work? I said, when you treat her like a queen, she wants to treat you like a king. I can't say, I expect this and I expect this. I go above and beyond doing those small things for my wife without her asking, brothers. My wife drives her car and she's low on gas. If I see her low on gas, without her having to ask me, go and put gas in the car. Go wash her car for her. You know she has to take care of 5 things today. Take care of 3 of those things. She will go above and beyond to pay you back. And when you invest love with your wife, she never gives you back the same love. She always multiplies it and gives it back.
This is so cool. MashaAllah for brothers and sisters. I hope that you guys have smashed the like button and have definitely subscribed to the channel, inshallah, because this is gold what you're sharing right now. But I also want to kind of push back a little bit, okay, on, what you said about, investing in your wife. If you treat her like a queen, she'll treat you like a king.
Not always.
Exactly, right? This is what
Not
I want to
always.
say.
No, no,
This is
no.
what I want to
That's
say.
that's the idea.
That's the ideal, right?
Yes.
And I
brothers and
think,
sisters, you can have your feminine energy and do the stuff, and you try to do your part, and your husband doesn't do his part. That doesn't guarantee that either.
yeah.
But none of this is going to happen until we do what we have control. We have control over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to do our part. We have to break the cycle of, oh, I'm not showing him respect because he doesn't show me love. Or I'm not going to show her love because she's not showing me respect. Somebody has to break this loop. And once you break that loop, now you open the door of possible solutions. So I can't control what your husband does or what your wife does. All I can tell you is what you can do. And then you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open their hearts and open. But as long as you're in this loop that's going around, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. So I have to do my part. Now, that also depends on what type of person you married.
This is no, because that's the point that I wanted to make, is that you made your choice.
Yep.
You chose the woman that was in line with your program, with what you wanted, because you wanted to be a provider, you wanted to be a leader, and you wanted to make sure that your wife wasn't trying to do that or trying to kind of be involved in that, and that she was basically, you guys were on the same page. So if it sounds to me like the raw materials were there for you to be on the same page and to have an understanding of the roles within your relationship. But you know, what happens if you are not choosing on that basis? Or as you're saying, brothers are struggling to find sisters who are on that page. So I really want to kind of go back to that point that you made about so many sisters being on the apps or on the websites looking, and so many brothers just opting out. Then you said that the reason for that is that basically the brothers are like, it's not worth it. Well, one of the reasons is it's not worth it, you know, because it's just, this is not the kind of marriage that I want to see, or I want to have for myself. I'm not interested in that kind of woman, or whatever the case may be. What are some of the other reasons why there's so many more sisters looking than brothers? Well,
another reason, there's many. The next reason is that if you go to most Western laws, they are in favor of sisters, not brothers. So if a man, if 75% of all divorces are initiated by women, if they have a college education, it jumps to 90%. So if men see these numbers and say, listen, even if I do everything right, for whatever reason, let's say she's emotional, she doesn't feel loved, she doesn't feel happy, even though I feel like I'm doing my part, she can initiate divorce anytime she likes. When she initiates divorce, she will have full custody of the children and then get a monthly salary from me. And I have done nothing wrong. In fact, she can have infidelity, get pregnant by a non-Muslim man, and still collect money from me and take my children away from me. She can have drug abuse, which you've had people here in our people that I've interacted with, women dealing with a lot of really, really bad stuff, including the exact example I just gave you, and all these negative things, and they can take everything from you. So when you see your friends suffering from this and experiencing these type of things, and all the laws are set against you, even if you did nothing wrong, is now pushing you away from marriage. And say, what this institution is not an Islamic environment we're living in. It's a non-Muslim environment that says, okay, women, you have full rights. Men, you have very little. So again, it's already hard enough to get men to come and look to get married. So what is the incentive for men to get married? You know, and then the third step, a lot of sisters said, hey, I'm going to focus on my career. I'm going to get married when I get older. That's fine. So why do women want to get married? Well, I want companionship. I want to feel loved. I need someone to take care of me. I need a provider, protector, blah, 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 blah. Men are not looking for a protector, a provider, a good leader. They don't care about any of that stuff. That's why when you come in and talk about your education and your career, and you're like, oh, why is he not responding? He must be intimidated, blah, 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 blah. You don't understand. So what happens for men is, like, we don't look for that stuff. Men are attracted to three things. They're attracted to beauty, they're attracted to youth, and they're attracted to fertility. Those are the three things they want. Well, if you're past your
fit, feminine, and friendly, is it?
And
fit, feminine, and friendly, yeah.
Yes. You tend to be less feminine and friendly when you become more bitter because the system is against you, because culturally Muslims are surrounding you, which made your life 10 times harder getting married. It's hard to be very happy and open and be positive when all this negative energy is surrounding you, when you're around other people who happen to be bitter and frustrated about the process as well. And by the way, before everyone gets mad at me, I didn't create this process. I didn't create the culture. I'm not even cultural, neither is my wife. I don't believe in all this nonsense to classify sisters as this is a divorced sister, so she must be something wrong. I don't believe any of that stuff. On Half Deen, by the way, you can't even, your status doesn't show. So if you happen to be divorcee, men can filter you out like most websites, they just press the filter button. They never even see you. On Half Deen, they have to see it. I understand that there are certain things that we do to filter people out and never even give sisters a chance. I do things that other people don't do. Like most websites, they'll put, oh, let's put a cute Pakistani couple together. Oh, let's put a cute so-and-so Somali couple together, or put whatever couple together. I went out of the way to make sure I make it look different. My main thing, if you go to my Facebook for Half Deen, it is a mixed couple. I have a black sister and a white brother. I am trying to change the way that you guys look at successful marriage. And that's a successful marriage, by the way, one of our success stories. I am trying to change all these things that become status quo to change it. I'm trying to change the idea that divorced sisters are damaged. No, that's something that you just happen to experience. If you're a driver and you were hit by a car and you're in an accident, are you suddenly a bad driver? Because that's how I view it.
Okay. So, I want to push back on this. And I'll tell you why. Because you mentioned about people being on the apps and being out there looking and that not being able to be fit, feminine and friendly because maybe they're older or they've had bad experiences. Now, I can only say anecdotally because I'm not behind the scenes of an app like you are, but from hearing from brothers who are on the apps, the report that I've had is that a lot of sisters who are on the, kind of have been married once or twice, a lot of them have had, as far as they're concerned, traumatic situations, have been through. I remember one brother saying that he put it to something like 80, but he said, you are one of only 2 or 3 sisters that I've spoken to who has not experienced domestic violence, right? Allahu alam, this is what I was told. So what I would hear is that when sisters are doing their profiles, there's a lot of, I don't want this, I don't want that, I'm not having that, I don't accept this, I don't want that. I expect my husband to be X, Y, Z, etc., and quite combative, right? Because it's like, I'm tired of the nonsense. Like, I'm not going to accept this and this and this anymore. And while I understand that, I have to look at it from the consumer's point of view, I guess, the brothers. And it's like, I don't really want to sign up for that. You sound like you've dealt with a lot and you're still carrying a lot. So how can you be, in your feminine energy in these conversations, in these apps, when you're searching? What does that look like? And I'm saying, so, can you?
So you can't. And this is the problem, that people bring their baggage with them and it doesn't work. And men see your luggage. When you have this baggage, and you say, oh, he doesn't know, and you kind of put it behind your back, we see right through you, by the way. It's crystal clear. It's the tone that you have. It's the attitude that you have. As you said, here's the list of all the stuff I don't want. Many of you, when you were looking to get married, men and women, as soon as you're looking to get married, you have this list of stuff you want. Sister's list is about this big, brother's list is about this big, whatever the list is, you have a list. Yes. As soon as you get a divorce, this list has now become this big. And why is the list this big? Because it includes all the stuff you still want in a husband or wife, plus the 20 things you don't want. And you're like, well, where did this come from? Well, after my ex, I decided that these are the things I can't tolerate. Well, why did it take a wedding, a nikah, 2 years of marriage, and 100 pounds of emotional baggage that you're bringing with you to figure out what you can't tolerate? So all of these things that I've been seeing was how I kept building and building and building Half Deen. So one of the things I did with Half Deen is like, hey, we're the first and the only website in the world, including non-Muslim websites, by the way, not Myers and Briggs, not anybody else, not eHarmony, not Match.com. Forget the Muslims are whatever, but the big ones, right? They don't even have it. We have a tolerance test. What is a tolerance test? We find out what you can and can't tolerate to figure out which personality type you're less likely to tolerate, so you can focus on the ones that you can. Because some of you don't figure it out until after you're married. And just because you can't tolerate somebody doesn't mean that person happens to be a bad person. If they were, how does the next person marry them and they're happily married? It just tells you that, yes, he's attractive to both you and him at one point. And now you realize, I can't tolerate him, but she he can. Therefore, they're successfully married, and I'm sitting here single, wondering what I did wrong. What's wrong with me? You see,
that's so good. And mashallah, tabarakallah, I think even the idea of, what you can tolerate, because having had these conversations, we've had lots of them now, mashallah, and preferring to speak to experienced married people who have been through 10, 15, 20 years and don't have as much of a rosy tint on their glasses, but are a lot more pragmatic, a lot more practical, a lot more real, and guess what? A lot more honest. And what we all know, because alhamdulillah, I was married to my late husband for 15 years, what we all know is that this work of partnering, of building together, of building a family, it's not a fairy tale. It's not, like you said, the Bollywood. It's not the Hollywood. It's not the R&B songs. It's actually something a lot more beautiful than that, because it's so much deeper and so much more meaningful. But in essence, you are accepting the humanity of the other person. And you're accepting to love and respect them in their humanity, which by its very nature is flawed. Yes. You know what I mean? And it's understanding that there is no perfect, there's no perfect person, no perfect person, no perfect husband, no perfect wife. You're not perfect. You have flaws. Whoever you marry is going to have flaws. That person is probably going to tolerate a lot of stuff about you. Nothing wrong with understanding that you are going to have to tolerate certain things about that person to make it work. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. So I have this marriage workshop coming up this weekend here in California, and I teach all these things. So one of the activities we have is a tolerance activity. So I show them a lot of negative words, about 28 of them, like really bad stuff: heartless, cold, unforgiving, people unsociable, pushover, cowardly, judgmental, bossy, controlling. And I said, look at all these really, really negative words. Can you choose 7 of the worst that you cannot tolerate in a spouse? And they go, I can't tolerate any of these. I don't want any of these. I said, yeah, but what is the 7 worst of these 28? They choose 7. As soon as they finish choosing 7, then I give them the harder task. Now I need to choose 7 that you can tolerate. I'm like, whoa, what? Yeah, show me the 7 that you can tolerate. That if your spouse, your husband or wife in the future happens to be any of these type of things, you won't get a divorce. Be honest with yourself. Like, and now for the first time in their life, someone's asking them to do something of the opposite of saying, hey, tell me what you're wanting in a husband and wife, because that's not how the whole thing works, right? It's not what you're attracted to, it's what you can tolerate. Attraction will get you married. Tolerate will keep you married. So now I'm trying to do is say, hey, take a look at all these different things and choose. And now they're choosing. The very fact that it's taking so much time for them to choose tells me that they never asked themselves these questions before.
And they're thinking about it. And another thing as well, I love that exercise. I think that must be so really earth-shattering for a lot of people. But another thing that's interesting as well is all those negative traits that you mentioned. If you just flip it around, there is a positive trait that goes with that negative trait a lot of the time. I was just thinking of the word pushover, for example, right? Yeah. Now, pushover is one side of the coin. Nobody really wants their husband or their maybe wife, whatever, to be a pushover. But the other side of the pushover is that they're very laid back a lot of the time. They're very relaxed.
Agreeable, flexible. Thank you. Agreeable.
Okay. So even our perception of those negative traits, if we start labeling our spouses who may be laid back, who may be, relaxed or flexible or any of these things, we start labeling them with those negative traits instead of the flip side of that and appreciating the flip side of that. Even married people can end up telling themselves a story about their spouse that leads them to develop hatred for the spouse and contempt, he's such a this or she's such a that. Oh, he's so this. And the thing is, subhanAllah, I don't know whether this happens with men as well. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me, but certainly with women, I've experienced it myself. It's with women that I've coached, friends. We hold on to an idea. We get an idea. My husband doesn't care about me, or my husband doesn't support my dreams. Let's use that one. My husband doesn't support my dreams, right? And our evidence for that is maybe you wanted to go for a weekend training out of town, and you told him about it, and he was like, to be honest, I don't think that's really going to work because I've had a full week of work, and this weekend I really needed to do X, Y, Z. I won't be able to stay with the kids, so I think you're going to have to take a rain check on that. The story I'm telling myself is, oh, I see. So it's okay for you to be working X, blah, la, la, la. But when I want to do something, you can't even do da, 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 da. And even if none of these words are actually said, it doesn't become a fight. This is the conversation in my head.
Yes.
And now when I have that thought, I'm thinking of all the other times that the same thing happened, or something that can be interpreted to give more evidence to that meaning that I've given it, right? Which is that he doesn't support me, he doesn't support my dreams. And then we start to spiral until we get to a stage where that is the truth. Yes. Wow, this guy really does not think anything of me. He thinks I'm here just to look after these kids, and he thinks that I've got nothing more to give to the world. And all of this is happening in here. And of course, it impacts the way you look at your spouse. Because now the story you're telling yourself is that this is your adversary. He is your enemy. He's not your supporter. He doesn't appreciate you. He doesn't see you. He doesn't love you, and all of this stuff. And of course, it then comes out in your actions. But I don't know, does it happen to men, or is this a woman thing? It does. Okay.
Well, it does in a different way. So the way that we men view the world is like when we see like I've asked this question many times. I have yet to have one sister to agree to this, to my little proposal. I said, if we flip the script for one moment, and we say, sisters, how about you get the final say in any relationship? In your marriage, you get the final say. So if there's a disagreement between you and your husband, just like the husband has to listen to you and hear your feedback, you would have to listen to his feedback and his thoughts, what he thinks. And then after the very end, you make the final decision. Would you like that? Yeah, I would love that. Fantastic. All right, let me just tell you the one little caveat to that. We men, first of all, don't have this option. No one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never asked us men, would you like this option or not to be have the final say? Would you like to be the leader? No, you are the leader, period. You have the final say, period. And the little caveat that I'm telling you, you will be accountable on the day of judgment, period. For every single decision that you're making that I gave you power over, your wife and your family and your kids, you will be held accountable. Your kids, zero accountability. Your wife, zero accountability. So if men have the option, sisters, and you like this proposal, take this final say, and on the day of judgment, when you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you are being accountable, your husband's like, here you go. You're responsible for all of the final decisions. I'm responsible for nothing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells your husband he can leave. You will be standing here and you will be punished or rewarded based on the final decision for every single decision that you've made in the entire 20, 30, 40 years of marriage. Would you like that extra accountability? I mean, do you maybe need some extra accountability on the day of judgment? I've yet to meet one sister that says, yeah, I'll take that extra accountability for the final say. Of course.
It's obvious.
So we men don't have that choice.
Because nowadays, when we look at, authority, we see authority in terms of power, not responsibility, right?
Yes.
It's the power to control things, to make things go the way that you want, to have your way. It's a power thing, right? But what you're offering them is, okay, you want the power. Oh, but you know what Spider-Man said, or Uncle, whoever his name. I've forgotten his name.
Yeah.
What's the uncle's name?
Uncle, I forgot.
The one who died. Allahu Akbar. Spider-Man's uncle, who tells him with great power comes great responsibility. What you're offering them, or us, is the responsibility that goes with the power. And of course, nobody wants that. No.
Yeah. And you know
I say no to that.
Yeah. Or we flip the script as the example you gave. The man who has to go out and work and come back and say, when you can go out work, but when I want to go do, you know what? Let's flip the script for a second. Let's say, sisters, you guys work full time. We'll stay home. If you need something when you get home, we'll do the exact same thing you're doing. You go work full time. Whenever you come back home, we will take half of your money, if not more. We have access to everything. You have access to zero. So if I do software development, money, whatever on the side, I keep all that for myself. You pay for the bills, you pay for this, you pay for this, you pay for that, you do everything. And then one day I'm like, well, I want to go on a side trip to do some computer programming, self-development, something. And I know, I want to just let you know if it's okay for me to go and do this. I'll be gone for the weekend. And you're like, well, all the work that I'm doing as a female, you'll say, we're doing for you, for the whole family. You want to go and leave for 2 or 3 days that benefits you at my expense. And I have other stuff that's going on this specific weekend. This weekend's not the best time. And I said, well, I resent you for that. Just flip the script for a second.
You're in trouble now.
You're in trouble. Everything to you.
You're in trouble now.
Exactly. So it's kind of like you have to put yourself, and this is what we were talking about earlier, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Now, I know sometimes you're listening to this conversation, you're like, well, I have the exception. My husband, I understand. We're not talking about the exception. We're talking about in generality. These are the type of things we have to do, is put ourselves in the shoes of our wife or in our husband, basically in our spouse, and try to understand where they're coming from. Right. So the husband, your wife is saying, hey, can I go for the weekend? She's not thinking about, oh, what you're going through or what your responsibilities for you. Like when my wife says, I'm going to go visit my family in London, I'm like, well, what about the kids? Like, I'm going to work. You know, you have to think about the other side of it. Like, if you can figure out what's going to happen for the kids and who's going to take that, I can't just take a month off of work because you want to go visit your sister, right? It's for you, it's easy to do, right? If you were working and I said, look, I'm going to go visit my brother. We're going to go skiing together. You got to figure solution out. That's not fair for my wife either. It's being considerate of the other person and try to understand, do the best you can, obviously. That's where I think sometimes we're missing that piece of it. So let me get to the third thing, because you asked me the first two I gave you of the negative of why it's so hard for men, right? The third thing is the bar is raised so high that it's not realistic. So a lot of people, sisters, that are looking at these magazine covers and you see, wow, she's so beautiful and her skin is so perfect. And now you're on Instagram and you look at, wow, how she's skin is so perfect. She doesn't have any blemishes. She has nothing. But you don't realize there's this filter, this filter, this filter. The magazines have Photoshop, 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 Photoshop. And now your app is all of these thousands of different apps that make her look something completely than what she does not look. So all of you guys are chasing something that doesn't exist. So now let's forward that to marriage. When you're on social media and you see the cute couple, the cute Muslim couple, the husband and wife are sitting next to each other and doing the cute jokes with each other.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so cute.
The TikToks and everything. Yeah.
You're honey bunny. We have our inside jokes and this is how we're perfect with each other. You watch them. When that camera turns off, they're fighting, they're arguing, they don't show any of the negative sides of their relationship. They only show the positives because realistically, this is as real as the sitcoms that you watch, as real as a reality TV show that you watch. They're getting views, they're getting the smash on the like buttons, they're getting subscribers, and they're getting paid by you viewing them. Nobody wants to watch the cute couple being major arguments unless you like the drama. They realize that we need to show ourselves as a perfect couple, and that's what they're selling. So what you're going to do is you start comparing yourself to these people on Instagram and these people on YouTube, and that life does not exist. Every single couple fights. Every single couple has disagreements. Every single couple does not see eye to eye, and you are being fed a false world, a false life, that something you're chasing, a unicorn that does not exist. Just like those perfect girls in those magazines, your skin will never, I don't care how much makeup and how much creams that you put on it, you will never be perfect because they're not perfect. That same girl, if you see in real life, she doesn't look like that. Because in real life, she has no filters. She has no Photoshop. She has none of that nonsense. So just as you came to the reality that this doesn't exist, you have to realize that this marriages that they're trying to portray don't exist. Even the Prophet ﷺ, the man who has the highest level of Jannah, who had married to the mother of the believers, he had his disagreements with his wife. At one point with all of them, that he's like, I'm going to leave everybody for 30 days. When was your husband leave you for 30 days, right? So you have to ask yourself, like, how this is the greatest man to walk on the planet with the best of character, married to the best women, and they have their disagreements at times. So this is the challenge we have sometimes, and this is the thing that we kind of forget. We're chasing something that doesn't exist. So some of us are married, and we're like, wow, why is everybody having like a perfect marriage except for me? What's wrong with this? And what happens is they're not showing you the negative side. I want you guys to, here's a good exercise to think to yourself for one moment. When was the last time, you saw this couple and then it surprised you that they are getting divorced? The very fact that some of us are oftentimes surprised that X and Y are getting divorced tells us there's a lot more happening behind closed doors than what appears in front of us. And marriages are like this. We look at each couple like, why is everyone's marriage so perfect except for ours? Because me and my husband or me and my wife are always fighting and disagreeing. The reality is they don't show the negative side. And this is why everyone's oftentimes surprised when a divorce happens. Okay, this is the reality. So don't rush to divorce thinking that if I throw away my iPhone 6, the iPhone 13 is going to come in my pocket. It doesn't work that way. You guys are throwing away because you're not going to downgrade from the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 1. You want to upgrade. But you don't realize that just because I throw something away, a marriage oftentimes, something else is not waiting for you. Nobody's waiting for you. The only one that's waiting are the people looking to get married. It's called the waiting list. and join it. If you want to get divorced for small things, not infidelity, not abusive, I'm talking about those small divorces. Oh, because I'm not happy right now.
I agree.
Or because he said this or she said that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You will join the waiting list like everybody else, and there's nobody waiting for you guys. No. Nobody's coming to marry you guys in those situations. And I'm giving you the reality check. I'm a guy who's been doing this marriage thing for 12 years. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people I've interacted with. A lot of people are living in the la-la land that, hey, as soon as I get divorced, because my husband's not perfect, he doesn't have 13 check boxes, he only has 11, or my wife doesn't have everything, I'll have another sister waiting for me. Good luck on that, my friends. There's nobody waiting for you. Everyone who's looking to get married right now, go ask them how easy it is to get married. You'll be surprised how challenging it is. All these married people who think the grass is greener on the other side, you need to have a real big wake-up call. Just talk to your single friends who are looking and ask them how easy is the landscape. You'll be surprised. It's far more challenging than it is.
It's the Wild West. That's what I always say about, it is like the Wild West out there. And it's not like it was 20 years ago. It's nothing like that. As you said, there's the proliferation of apps and websites that give you the illusion of choice, which I think is a big mushkila. I think the way that we're encouraged to kind of judge people on appearances, it doesn't help, because if a brother doesn't take a good picture, swipe, right? If he's not the typical look that you go for, swipe, right? Similarly with the sisters, right? I'm sure that brothers do the same thing.
Big time. Big time.
Right. And then the expectations that we have, the fact that so many people have now already been through a marriage or two and may have children in tow. And so I don't want to say baggage, but you're carrying stuff, right? You're not just free single, just like swinging your arms cool and like, yeah, let's go. You've been through some stuff and you have some of that with you. It's like what the brother Nasir says about check-in baggage and carry-on baggage. But my point is that, check-in baggage is cool. Like check-in baggage is the big stuff. And you want to have dealt with that before you start looking. Carry-on baggage is fine. It's like, it's baggage that we kind of all have. It's not a problem for your spouse, your new husband or wife to kind of help you carry that. They can easily take it, put it up under the seat, whatever. It's no problem. But it's the check-in baggage that nobody wants to have to deal with, right? Because it's embarrassing and it intrudes. Anyway.
So Naima, that brings us to, you just mentioned the final point of the 4 reasons why it's so hard. You've been reduced down to a picture. See, when I was looking to get married, as messed up as those websites were before, they're more, I was like, how can it get worse? Oh, we found a way to get it worse. We took your eye color, your hair, this is back when I was looking to get married. You would put your eye color, your hair color, your height, your weight, your skin color. Unfortunately, many people still use skin color. All these different things, your profession.
The biodatas.
Your biodata. It was like buying a used car.
Yeah.
Oh, what color, what model, what mileage, all this, like, that's not how you pick a wife. And back then it was so messed up. Today, they removed all that stuff and just reduced you down to your picture. So if you reduce you down to just a picture and a 1-second decision, everyone knows that, hey, I'm not getting clicked on, so I need to put more filters. Here's a picture of me 5 years ago. Here's a picture of me in the perfect angle that doesn't show that I'm 40 pounds overweight. Here's a picture of me that this and this, and this guy looks like your son. This doesn't look like you. It's like, yeah, this is a picture about 9 years ago. It's like, what? So, and obviously some people are disappointed when they see each other because these apps have reduced you down to a picture. And what happened as Muslims, we decided this, by the way, this is part of us problem, is we copied non-Muslims dating apps. A date, for all those who are not familiar, is a 3-hour relationship. It's a relationship that's completely temporary. No non-Muslim will tell you this is a permanent relationship. So something that's designed for dating, a 3-hour restaurant and a movie, and you're finished. And whatever fitna happens that night, is no consequences required. What happens is we Muslims decide, you know what, let's just copy that. We could have copied eHarmony. We could have copied Match.com. We could have copied more matrimonial marriage-minded apps. No, we decided to copy Tinder. We changed a T to an M, or we added Muzzmatch to it, whatever the situation is. We copied it so much, there's lawsuits going against people because they copied so much to this type of. Now, we Muslims are used to people copying each other because unfortunately, there's no innovation when it comes to Muslims. Our websites all look the same. This looks like that. Muslim looks like this. All these people look the same. But that's why when I said, let me build Half Deen, I'm going to try to build a completely opposite. Instead of just taking a male's perspective, and by the way, All of these apps are designed by men for men. It's not a coincidence, sisters, that you've been reduced down to your age, just your first name and your picture. Which gender do you think will design that type of app? Because women, they don't say, okay, just show me his picture, show me how old he is, and I'm ready to get married. Men make a decision this quickly. Women don't think that way. Women think far more deeper. You have questions. What does he do? What is his personality like? Is he honest? Is he sincere? Is he confident? Blah, 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 blah. You have all these other 100 other questions because for you, it's a major decision. For men are like, hey, I just need 5 things and we're good, ready to go. And it's just like, hey, hold on. I'm not going to rush into it like that, right? Most sisters have more questions to ask. So most people don't know the vast majority of the people who work for Half Deen, all the Muslims happen to, except for one brother, happen to be women. And when I listen to sisters, I get their feedback. And this is why, surprisingly, it's not a surprise that we have a 60-40 ratio on females versus men compared to other websites, which are like almost 60 to 70% men to women. So you're like, wait a second. How do these other swiping apps, and look it up, by the way, you can type in male-female ratio and the name of any website you like, Muzzmatch, Minder, whatever you want to call it. Just type in male-female ratio and put that in. And watch how much more men there are to women. And then ask yourself the next question, well, why there's so many men, but when I'm looking around in my Muslim community, where are all these men? Because there's 2 types of relationships. There's the temporary ones and the permanent ones. When you build a website designed for men for temporary relationships, what's going to happen? You're going to attract those type of men. And this is why some of you come back and say, what's wrong? I keep coming across these men who want this, and there's this and this, and they want 50-50. Yes, because this is what's going to attract. You put a certain type of bait and put it as a fish hook, you're going to catch a certain type of fish, right? If you put a different type of bait, you won't catch that type of fish. You'll find other type of fish. That's what I said I need to do. But because my fish is more rare, which fish am I talking about? The marriage-minded Muslims, the Muslims who want to be providers and protectors and this, they're not going to be in abundance. I'm not going to have majority of those people. I'm going to have a very difficult time finding these people, but I only want those people. I don't want 1 million people. I need just thousands. And I just need a small fraction of those people who are serious, because at the very end, you don't need millions either. You just need one to marry. So the question is, how do I filter? And this comes back to the initial question you asked before, when you're speaking to all these people, what did you do to get 17 down to 1 is one key word, filter. How do you filter? Now, I use one method of many methods that we use on Half Deen. I use the question method, where I ask questions, my deal breaker questions, to filter down the sisters to the ones, so I don't waste time with all these sisters. I don't want to go through the whole process for every single sister. I'm going to ask you some deal breaker questions. If you answer them correctly, then I will spend my time with you. Most sisters that I communicate with, they don't do this. So they waste a lot of time with a lot of brothers only to find out that they're not compatible. Sorry, that's partly your fault. Stop doing that. Have a instead of deal breaker questions. Now you're like, okay, how do I come up with deal breaker questions? Make sure the questions don't have right or wrong answers. So on Half Deen, every single profile has 5 deal breaker questions. People can type it up themselves, or they can choose from a database of questions, whatever they like. Is there questions that you want people to ask? For example, a question would be like, what do you think the role of a wife is? Or would you be willing to relocate to London? These are specific questions you, not for the website, just specifically that you want people to answer, because it tells you that, are you looking for a second wife? Whatever the situation is. Would you marry someone older than you? Would you? All these type of questions. Okay, that's number 1. The second thing I said, okay, as far as filtering, we need to figure out, a lot of sisters, I mean, as I'm talking to females, you realize personality matters, character matters. So let's figure out a personality test. Let's find out what they're attracted to. Just because you're this personality doesn't mean you're attracted to yourself. Let's find out what you're attracted to, and then let's do a tolerance test. So we made them do all that. Then we said interests. What interests do you have? So we choose over 100 interests, including organizations. So are you more into Zaytuna? Or are you more into Al-Maghrib? Are you more into Baina? Or are you more into so-and-so? So based on the institution, we can tell you what mindset are you into. Are you more into Yasser Ghadi or more into Hamza Yusuf? Because it's 2 very different types of talks and mentality, right? Noman Ali Khan or so-and-so. So we find out that, and then we find out, of course, your interests. You like bike riding, you like birds, you like whatever. Then we go to the next section, and that is, we got deal breakers, we got interests, we got this. The next section is priorities. A lot of sisters are talking to a brother, and you don't know at the beginning if he wants children, if he doesn't want children, if he's a neat person, is he a kind person? Does he have good manners? What is the most important thing to him? Is his culture important to him? What's important? So we give a list of 10 things, And we ask you to prioritize using drag and drop from the most important to least important. And then when you look at each person's profile, it shows where you are similar and where you are different. So example, let's say your sister who has 2 children, you're in your mid-30s and you don't want any more children. So you put desire for children as number 9 or number 10. Then when you look in the brother's profile, everything looks great. His personality looks great. And you see desire for children is number 1 for him. Then you're like, oh, either this is a no, or we should definitely need to have a conversation. So you know about what to talk about.
Yeah.
And then finally, quizzes. We ask 158 questions to people, and we break them down to category, from religion to culture to finances to gender relations. Like, can men and women be like this together? Can you like this? All kinds of things, to parents, to the way you want to raise children, to even food and desserts. Like, what is, and then every person you click on, it shows your 20% match on lifestyle, 44% match on religious views, 88% match on this, only 2% match on this. And then you can click on the actual quiz. You'll see exactly where you think alike and where you think different. Like, she wants a pet and you don't. You're like, okay, maybe we should talk about this. What kind of pet do you have? Is like a cat or like a bird? And she says, no, a rattlesnake. You're like, okay, we definitely need to have a conversation about this. So what are we talking about? So by seeing the differences of every single person and taking all of this data, it calculates what your compatibility is, and it predicts what will make you amazing together, what type of challenges you have, and it predicts chemistry. Wow. It tells you if you're a good match for them, and maybe they're a bad match for you. Right? So it's just because you're good for them doesn't mean they're good for you, and vice versa.
How do you predict
this is done
chemistry via quizzes? How do you predict chemistry in this system? How does that work?
Excellent. So we look at everything. We look at your location. We look at your first language. Like if you look at your age gap. So certain things will give you more points. Some things will give you a gap. So if I have a 20-year age gap, they'll get negative points for that, because obviously you're 2 parts of your life. If you happen to be in the same location, you'll get extra points for that, because you're culturally, even though you may be Pakistani or Arab or Somali, if you're both raised in London,
from the Bay Area or something,
you're a mix of that culture. Right. So you have some commonalities versus if you happen to be in London and I happen to be in some other part of the world that we don't have the same culture. If you're born in Morocco and this person is born in London, you're not raised necessarily with the same culture as you're growing up. So there may be some negative points for that. So you add the negatives and positives. We look at your personality. We figure out, are you the same personality? Are you opposite personalities? What type of personality have you shown us you can tolerate? What are you attracted to? And what are they attracted to? What they can tolerate? All of this is calculated. We look at your priorities, see how different that is, calculated. All 158 questions calculated. Here's the main thing, sisters. Most of you, main complaint is, how do I find brothers who are serious? Now, I ask you a question. Who is more serious? A person that I ask, okay, brother, just give me your picture, your first name and your age. We're good to go. Literally a minute. Or, brother, you need to sit down for 30 minutes and do all these quizzes, do all this, answer 158 questions, everything. That is a far more serious person to me than a person who spends a minute to do something. Because of all this commitment that I'm requiring for brothers, a lot less brothers will sign up. But the ones I do get, that is my first level of filtering. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So I want to ask you guys.
I was just thinking to myself, like, I can imagine brothers saying, sure, man, what is this? What happened to answer all these questions? Like, what's this all about?
Okay, so it's exactly Naima.
Right?
What you're saying is, as a male, I had to think to myself, all this craziness will work only under one condition. I got to get the brothers to buy in. So how do I get brothers to answer 158 questions? And for the sisters who are thinking to themselves, well, this sounds like a good idea, I'm going to send the brother I'm speaking to 158 questions. If you want to do that, you're going to see how fast he can run. Because if any sister, and I'm a guy who did this, if any sister sent me 158 questions, I can almost promise you I will not take that sister's, will not even speak to that sister again. That's how the faster I will end that conversation. We are done.
Wow.
And this is a guy who did this. I will not do it. I will not do it. So then why, you're probably wondering yourself, then how are you getting people to do it?
Everybody is wondering this, right now. Okay. Everybody wants to know, how are you getting the brothers to buy in?
Worked.
Go on.
I came up with 2 things and it worked. Number 1, I convinced the brothers, basically, answer 158 questions one time and you'll never have to do it again. So all this repetitive stuff you do over and over again with chit chat with every single sister, tell me about this, what do you want this, you'll never, ever do it again. Imagine brothers who think with logic and productivity and efficiency. You do it once, you'll never do it again. Brothers like, dude, where are the questions? Because I don't want to do this with all the sisters. That's number 1. Number 2, Brothers, if you answer all 158 questions, do everything I'm telling you, you'll show up number 1 in search results when you sort by top members. That's what people pay Google to do. You do it on our website for free. All you have to do is put in the time, and you get to show up first when sisters do a search. And guess what? Those same sisters want the brothers who are more serious to show up first anyways.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for both sides. I don't have to convince any sister, not one, to do these type of things because they see the value.
Sisters love that stuff. No, we love it anyway. We love all that.
You
Personality
see
quizzes
the value of it.
and Yeah, and it's
You see the value of it. Men don't see the value of it. They're like, hey,
right.
What's the minimum that I have to do? This is why, sisters, when you go to profiles, most profiles say what? And this is even a Half Deen. That's why I don't care about you and about my match. Because when you leave it to the person to do it, they write, we'll tell you later. Ask me.
Looking for a wife.
I'm looking for a good Muslim. How many sisters, by the way, who are listening right now, have wrote this? I'm looking for an honest Muslim who's good Muslim and who has a balance of deen and dunya, blah, 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 blah.
Do you know what that means? Do you know what balance of deen and dunya means? I think it means basically like you are religious, but you ain't broke, okay? You're religious and you pray, but you got money, okay? So that's the balance of deen and dunya, subhanallah. Yeah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. It's been amazing. We had, so many other topics to cover. I hope that you'll come back again, inshallah. It's been a real joy to just, hear your thought process. And, hopefully the brothers and the sisters, they're used to us being very honest on this channel. We don't sugarcoat anything. So I think that, I don't expect a backlash. I think, mashallah, sisters are very used to us all being very honest, and the brothers as well, mashallah. So what would you like people to do? Is it possible to go on Half Deen as somebody who's not based in the in the US? What's the situation with that?
Yes, Half Deen's open for the whole world. I like to be transparent with everybody. So we don't have a large population. Only about 11% of our audience is from the UK. But about 6 months ago, it was only 5%. So our numbers have pretty much doubled in a very short amount of time. And another thing I'm trying to do is I want to make this whole dating app nonsense go away. I know this is attractive, especially for men. And I want, as we just said earlier, how do you get people to go this more time way of doing it the right way, even though it requires more time from them? How do you have to build incentive? We can't just say haram, haram, haram. Even though I don't agree with the dating apps, they make it super easy. And just like the haram things we have in our lives, access to our lives, those are very easy. And when we make the halal difficult, then it becomes challenging. Just like some of our parents, they make the halal difficult. So the haram access is so easy, it makes our struggle even more difficult. So what I want to do, something different, is that I want to make the halal as easy as possible. So if you're in the UK and you're looking to get married, I'm willing to give you the entire membership for free. No strings attached. So I will give you your Half Deen membership for free, no strings attached, because I know what you've heard in the past. It's a free website. As soon as you join a website, you can't message anyone. You join a website, it's only free for 10 days. I'm saying an entire year. That's plenty of time for you guys to get married. And after 1 year, then if you decide to stay, then maybe you start getting charged after that. And even then we may try to change that. But minimum of 1 year. And many of you, all you need is less than a year to find somebody, right?
Yes. No, they must be serious. And they must make it happen within that year, inshallah.
Give yourself a chance. And here's the thing. If you're already using these other websites and they're not working, there's no disadvantage of putting your profile on one more website because you don't know where your other half is. As I said earlier, I didn't know which website worked, so I joined all of them. And it's hard to join all of them when you have to pay for all of these. So our website, not only is it affordable, it's about £62 for the whole year, which is about £5 a month. Nobody gives you that price. And it's unlimited access to everything. And we don't advertise or market stuff to you. We don't sell your data, none of that nonsense. Plus, we're not even charging you. You're getting it for free. So it's like literally, because you're listening to Naima Roberts right here, and you're listening today, and you're at the right place at the right time, you're getting the entire thing for free, no strings attached. 1 year from now, 2023, is when you first start your membership. So whatever plan you choose, you can choose monthly, quarterly, annual, whatever you choose, 1 year from now. And if you cancel before then, you don't get charged anything. It's if you decide to stay after, whatever. So nobody will give you 1 year. I am giving you 1 year because I am trying to get you guys away from this nonsense. That's not how you guys are gonna get married. I can't guarantee you'll find your Half Deen, but it doesn't hurt to take something for free and maybe use it, at least maybe your future half may join the website next month, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. As I said, our numbers keep growing in the UK. And I want you guys, and if you do find your other half, the way you can repay me is just keep me in your du'as. And that we consider ourselves even. No extra, nothing else. I don't want donation. I don't want nothing. You hear me right now. I don't want nothing. If you find your other half and you use this entire free year to do it, just ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgive me for my shortcomings. And that's it. We consider our balance even, inshallah. Simple as that.
Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. Guys, you've heard it here. You heard it here first. Baba Ali is offering all of you membership to his site, Half Your Deen.
Half Our Deen. So
half our Deen. Hey, Half Deen. I need to get that right.
Just make it Half Deen. Simple. That's why I keep it Half Deen. Yeah, Half Deen.
Half Deen is offering you guys a whole year's subscription membership for free to halfdeen.com.
No strings attached.
No strings attached.
Full access.
Nothing. Full access. It's open for you. Now, I know my wonderful subscribers and the people who are regular listeners to the marriage conversation. I see y'all in the comments. I peep you. I know some of you are looking to get married. I know some of you have been looking for a while, for some of you for a long time. You have no excuse now. Go on to halfdeen.com. Register for your account, inshallah. The more of you go and you tell other people about it, the more British people we can have on there, which means that the more chances that you'll find somebody who is more or less local to you. So I'm just giving a big shout out to Baba Ali for your generosity. Barakallahu feek. May Allah bless you. It's wonderfully rewarding work, and we can all see your passion, mashallah. And just the heart, that drives you through this business. May Allah bless it for you, multiple times over. I think you've given the brothers and sisters a lot to think about today. And then you've also blessed them with this wonderful gift, mashallah. So we will link to that in the comments, in the description below. And we will definitely be telling all our email and, Instagram and everybody about this to encourage as many people as possible to take you up on your offer. But for now, could you just tell us socials? Is it halfdeen.com? Is that where people need to go? And how can they find you?
You can message me on Instagram. I'll send you your link. I'll send you a specific link for anyone who wants it. Just I respond. You can find me as Real Baba Ali on Instagram, or you can message me on Half Our Deen on Instagram. I answer all those emails, inshallah. Just say, hey, Baba Ali, I was in Naima Roberts' podcast. I heard you're giving her people 1 year free and I love listening to her stuff. So here's your reward for listening to her work. This is another benefit of listening to someone, mashallah, that tries to do things differently. And mashallah, she's bringing different guests on her show. And you never know what you get when you listen to one of the guests. So today you're at the right place at the right time, and you get something absolutely free. Literally 62 pounds. Everybody else will pay for. You don't pay a dime because you're today listening to her. So and you stay to the end. So when you stay to the end, you had no idea we're giving something away.
This is it.
Came out, and I just want you guys again. And don't forget my deal. If you find you're the half in the first year, you will hopefully, inshallah, make dua for me. And make sure you cancel within the year. Otherwise, in 2023 is when your official plan starts. So I'm telling you to cancel, right? Unless you decide to say, hey, I like it. I talked to 1 or 2 people. It just didn't work out. I want some more time on it. Then it's complete up to you in 2023. There's plenty of year from now to decide. But for now, I hope most of you will find somebody within a year.
Inshallah.
So you don't have, this won't even be a discussion. So it's not like, hey, a 30-day trial and then I start charging you. It's none of that nonsense. Full access. You don't get like a limited access and then you have to have a premium edition. We try to cross and sell you more. No. You get full access like any other person who's paying full for it, inshallah.
I absolutely love it. Barakallahu feek. All the details, links, etc. will be in the description, guys. Make sure you take advantage of it. All you singles out there, you don't have an excuse anymore. Okay, so please go on to halfdeen.com. Take Baba Ali up on his offer. Baba Ali, jazakallahu khairan, really, for a wonderful interview, discussion, so thought-provoking and really so real, mashallah. Hopefully, this will not be the last time that we see you on this platform. Bi-idhnillah, we will see you again. But for now, may Allah bless you and your family and all the work that you're doing, and we'll see you inshallah on the other side. Jazakallahu khairan.
Welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
And all the rest of you guys, you wonderful people out there, make sure that you've liked the video, that you subscribe to the channel and you hit the notification bell. Leave your comments below. What were the light bulb moments for you? What were your biggest takeaways from this conversation? And make sure you share this with somebody else who you care about. Until next time, this is your sister Naima B. Roberts signing out. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you enjoyed that episode of The Marriage Conversation, why not watch another one right now? And be sure to subscribe.